Welcome to Southern Soul Chats, where this season we will be diving into the stories of individuals who have navigated the deeper waters of faith. I'm your host, Dr. Miranda Ferguson, and together we'll explore the journeys of people who've taken that courageous step forward in their faith. Get ready to be inspired as we uncover the incredible stories of unwavering belief and the remarkable impact it's had. If you're excited to join us on this faith-filled exploration, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Let's step forward. Hey y'all, we are bringing you a bonus episode today to kick off 2024. If you checked out last season, we ended with Advent and we really talked about how we could live with a celebratory heart, meaning that we don't just wait for the holiday to come around to celebrate Jesus and have hope, joy, peace, and love, but we move into this year looking for a way to incorporate that into a daily lifestyle. So there's no better way to do that than to have a guest who has a great fresh perspective on being in the year 2024, to be here with me today to talk us through that and really set us up for this season and for the year. So welcome, Daren Neely. I'm so glad you're here.
Hey.
I may or may not have bribed you or threatened you.
It was more of a threat.
I mean, I don't like to call it a threat.
It was borderline stalking.
Stalking.
Is what we told the officer.
Well, I mean, when he shows up, I might have a different story.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
We just come up with all kind of little different, things to say. No, that's not what it was, officer. But we'll work on that. But no, I'm glad you're here.
It's good to be here.
And I'm super glad you're here because I've tried to work out you being here for other things. And like I told you when we talked a few weeks ago, it was like, this was the time.
Yeah.
And this was the discussion. So yay fun. I promised I wouldn't poke and prod too much.
It's fine.
Because I'm going to try to bribe you later to come back and then poke and prod.
Oh, yeah.
So today
It's
we
like
won't
the
do a lot of
behind the
that.
scenes
Yeah.
next episode.
Right. Yeah. We do. Who is the real Daren Neely?
I need some good music for that.
Doesn't-
though.
I bet
like
we can find
mysterious music.
Oh yeah, like what was that show? One of those crime shows that had that. Oh, I can't remember. My parents were obsessed with crime shows, but we're not. This is not a crime show. We can turn it into one if I keep harassing you, though. That's okay. So, Daren, I tell you what. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, a little bit of backstory? I mean, share what you want.
Yeah.
Let's get them comfortable with you.
Okay, so Daren Eugene Neely. That the Eugene is it's a family name. It's not a name I would have chosen. In fact, it's my dad's middle name. He was Willie Eugene, and yeah, and so his parents. I don't know, like, is between the two evils. Like, are you going to be Willie the rest of your life, or Eugene? And so he just goes by Gene. That's probably too deep into my middle name, but it's part of who I am. I grew up in Central Arkansas, so when I talk to you, I feel like I'm talking to somebody from back home. I don't know if anybody's listened to Miranda's accent, but it's a lot.
She's not from Texas.
No, she's not from around here. Been married for 24 years. My wife, Ashley, is the worship pastor at the Met. We have 3 children. We've got a kid that's going to be, well, probably by the time this thing airs, he's going to be 21.
Wow, you're old.
Hudson. This year is the 50 year.
This is the year?
This is the year. I've got
man.
until September to not be 50.
Wait a minute. September the what?
4.
I'm September the 1st.
Ashley is September the 3rd.
My mom is September the 4th. We're Virgos. Oh,
I don't even know
boy.
what that means. Zero idea.
It doesn't really mean
I've
nothing.
got enough problems without bringing in something like that.
It doesn't mean anything,
Okay,
really.
good. So, Hudson's the oldest, then Max is 18. He will graduate high school here in just a few months. And then we have Reese. Reese is 15, and she's our little Thai baby. We adopted her when she was 1 from Thailand. So she's been with us 14 years, and she's a delight. By far, the favorite kid.
You just said that to everybody.
No, everybody knows it.
Okay,
like the
good,
kids
perfect.
know it. It's something we talk about. I needed them to know it pretty early on, so there'd be no confusion around the house.
So it was just clear.
Yes, super clear. They know. Like, it's obvious. She knows, and she'll use it against them. And
Does it work?
every time? Yeah, she gets to do whatever she wants.
Wow, that's nice.
'cause she's a special kid. But mainly done ministry my whole life in a church setting. Currently, I work for an organization called Petricares, which is here in the Cypress area. And long story short, we take guys and occasionally girls that have just aged out of foster care, and we work with Lone Star to get them a certificate so that they can begin working in the automotive industry, specifically repairs, that kind of stuff. So technicians. So I'm kind of their, I guess you would call me like a caseworker / social worker for these kids. Just help them during the day, during the week, during the course of the course. During the course of the course is where I help them, and then afterwards and get them where they need to be, and super fun.
But don't sell yourself short, because you still do pastorish.
I do pastoral. I have pastoral responsibilities, pro bono at this point. I believe
and
that's how
it is for God.
That's how they described it to me.
Pro bono.
Yeah, that was the pitch that they gave me. Yeah, so I still do. I still speak and stuff at the Med, and do camps and retreats and that kind of stuff. Yeah, still doing them.
Don't forget to tell them what your side gig is. You know, that little funny job you have.
Oh, yeah, I do some comedy. I do stand-up comedy all over Houston. Recently did the improv, which was just a really big deal for me, because I don't try real hard at it. You know, there's a lot of guys. There's guys in the scene that are out there every single night, like doing like till 2 a.m, and I just kind of show up every now and then, and I've just been blessed to know people.
Just throw something out there.
Yeah, it works.
It works. Hey, if it works, keep doing it. So, I haven't seen one of your shows. I have heard they're hilarious.
It's pretty funny.
If we didn't have 5,000 kids, it'd be easier for us, but we're working on it. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to come. One day it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Okay. So, I hit Ashley up way back and said, hey, you know, I want Daren to do the podcast. And the thing is I don't want him to think he has to come and be funny. Yeah. Like, I think everybody thinks, oh, it's Daren, he has to be funny. And she's like, you know, people ask me all the time, what's it like to live with Daren?
It's awful. It is.
She's like, we're not around the house cracking jokes 24/7.
No, it's really, it's depressing to be around the house. Like, I need an audience.
Right.
And so when I'm home, like, I don't have that audience, and it's also like I don't have to be funny. Now, she would like me to have a little more life to me when I'm around the house, and not just be a big dud. But I tend to be like, when I'm home, when I'm done doing my thing, I shut it all. I just shut it all down. It's sad. I shouldn't.
Well, you know what? You can work on that.
She deserves better. Oh my
gosh. Oh my Lord. No, you two are great. And you balance each other out, it seems like. So here's the thing. I have a question. It's going to be a little awkward. Have you ever noticed at the Met when they say that Daren Neely is going to preach, or that Daren Neely's coming out, that there's just like everybody's super excited?
It's embarrassing. It's terrible.
Like, it's like it goes from silence to like, whoa.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with it. I mean, I like it because they don't do that with the other guys.
Nobody.
So I kind of hold that over them. Like, hey, Brad, when's the last time anybody applauded when they said your name? Like, I like being able to say that. But it is, honestly, it's a lot of pressure. Like, I feel it too. I feel like when I'm about to go out, I go, oh gosh, I gotta deliver again, I guess. Or maybe if I just bombed one week, like really it was just horrible, then maybe we could
quit cheering for you?
Yeah, we get everybody's expectations back down to normal.
It's every time.
It is. I know, it's embarrassing.
Single time.
My kids.
Why do you think they do it? Why do you think they're all
because
like,
they like to laugh. They know it's going to be fun. That's part of it. They know I'm going to be silly. But I also think they know at some point something's going to shift, right? Like, that's comedy 101 anyway. Comedy is, it's having a setup. Michael Jr., comedian, he does a good job of explaining this. You have a setup, and then when you deliver the punchline, the punchline is supposed to be a mystery until you deliver it. And the bigger the mystery, the funnier it is, right? And so when I'm preaching, I kind of go at it with the same philosophy. I think I'm going to set this thing up to a point, and then I'm fixing to switch it all up on everybody.
Right.
And I think people like that. I think they like trying to figure out where it's going. Mm-hmm. And then not being able to figure out where it's going is fun for me.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm just different. I'm square peg, round hole in the
It
church,
works. Like
in the
you said, it
church world.
works.
But
It
it does work. People seem to like it.
So I feel like the last 2 times you spoke, though, you pulled a bait and switch on people. I felt like that. So you even made reference to it this past week or 2 weeks ago. You said you had to teach on heaven and hell.
No, not heaven. That
was
would have been
hell. It
fine.
was just straight hell.
The reality
That's right.
of hell was the topic I was given.
You looked terrified.
I was.
But I got to tell you straight up, I thought it was your best work.
Well,
Serious Daren is on point as
no,
well.
serious. In fact, and I said this that week that I taught it. I had been given multiple warnings going into that week. Like, dude, you have to handle this delicately. And so I had so much pressure going into that thing to, cover the topic well, but also I couldn't be like my normal self. I just couldn't. I wanted to be so bad. There were so many things I wanted to say, and I just had to not say them.
So you had to behave?
It was the worst.
Well, then this past week or week or two or whatever, we were talking, you did it again, and it was more lighthearted, but you still came with like a real big punch. And so I thought, look at him coming out here and showing everybody a different side. And it still worked because they still cheered and they still like, there we love
Yeah,
you.
when you start a sermon off with on a New Year's Eve and your main passage is in the book of Lamentations. It's not really what people thought was going to happen.
Well, when you opened up with all dogs go to heaven, I mean, that.
Well, yeah, because I had to preach on hell the time before, so I thought I'd lighten it up and let's just talk about all of our pets get to go to heaven.
Does it make you uncomfortable to preach on more serious topics?
No, I'm not uncomfortable. I have to be better prepared. Like, I don't prepare like normal guy. I used to have a pastor I worked for 10 years in Arkansas. He used to brag, like one of his things that he kind of liked to tell people is that he prepared for 20 hours every week for his message. And I don't know if he's going to listen to this. I don't think he will, but if he does, I can just tell you, it didn't seem like it. You know what I mean?
Right. Like he didn't get that feel.
It didn't seem like, man, this guy was ready and this is powerful.
Right.
So I've never been that dude, but when I have the heavier topics, I definitely have to, I've got to make more time. Like I've got to make it way more, I don't know what's the word. I have to be very, very intentional about not putting it off, not procrastinating, not waiting to the last minute, but really thinking about it early, thinking about it often, and then setting down like a week out and at least knowing mostly what I'm going to do. I try to tell people, like, they'll ask like on Tuesday, hey, Daren, are you ready for your message? And I'll go, I could do it right now. It wouldn't be awesome, but I could do it right now.
Right. Like your structure's in place.
Yes. So I've got it from Tuesday till Sunday morning. I'll dial the rest of that in.
Clean it up, straighten it out, and then probably not even say half of it.
Oh, no, just miss whole sections of my notes. Just be like, oh, I didn't even say that at all.
Yeah, like, daggone, that was good.
Bummer.
So here's the thing, because as we shift into like why you're here, this particular message you brought, it seemed there were parts to me that seemed really personal. Like there was a real personal twinge.
Yeah.
To this, what you're about to deliver to everybody. Did I miss that, or was I off? Because it felt like there was something connected there personally for you.
No, there was a lot there. Gosh, how do I even get into that? I'm not what doctors would say a real disciplined human being. I've had seasons where I've been incredibly disciplined, and I've read 2 books a month, and I'm at the gym 5 days a week, and I'm up early and I'm getting a rest and I'm eating right. And, but those have been few and far between seasons, honestly. I'm more of a, I just kind of go and I'm not thinking about what I'm doing or why I'm doing it and then a year's gone by and I'll look back and I go, I don't know if I did anything. And I'm also a guy that, when I do try to do that, I've not done well at it, trying so hard.
Right.
And then I end up just 10 steps backwards. And so there was a lot of that into this message because I just, we're entering a new season of life, period. From a career perspective, honestly, the next season of my life, which could be from now on, like what are we going to do now? Mm-hmm. And I'm at a point to where I just knew I can't do things like I've always done them because I'm going to end up getting those results, and those results are not going to be okay.
Right.
It's not going to get it done.
It's not going to work this time.
It's not going to work. Clock's ticking. And so, when I got asked to do the message, they didn't give me a topic at all. They just said, just do whatever you want to do. And so I sat on that for a week or two. And I just knew, though. I already knew early. I knew I got to do something with this New Year thing and living life differently. And so I just started the process of digging into that and what it looked like and what it could look like, should look like, what it shouldn't look like. And so, it was a very personal message to me because I have so many disappointments, right? I'm typically I look at life over my shoulder type of guy. In fact, my counselor, the very first day I saw Dr. Steve, who was my counselor for a while up in the Woodlands, he said, Daren, you should all over yourself. And I said, I'm sorry? What did you say, Dr. Steve? He said, you should all over yourself. He said, I've heard you say you should have done this and should have done that probably 30 times and you've been talking for 15 minutes. So that's kind of my operating system, is to always be looking back going, God, if I'd have just done this, or if I'd have just done this, or if I'd have not done this, then I wouldn't be here, or I would be here, or I would already have a Netflix special, right? It's that kind of stuff. And when you're faced with waking up on January 1 and realizing, oh gosh, I'm 50 this year. Like I'm running out of years to be looking back, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm running out of opportunities. So then what could be different? Like what could the next 20, 30 look like to where I don't have to look back anymore and go, coulda, shoulda, woulda?
That must have been something they were teaching in marriage and family therapy sessions years back, because when I graduated with my MFC degree, we had a professor in a room full of students in marriage and family therapy stand up and said that. Yeah. Don't waste your life, shoulda, coulda, woulda. And everybody's like, what? Did he just... Yeah. But it must have been like a philosophy they were really leaning into, because I got that same message.
It's so dead on. Anybody that really knows me would say the same thing. Like even just hanging out with me, you're going to hear that a whole lot. And I'm like I said, I'm running out of opportunities.
Yeah, it's time to
got to do something different.
Got to do something different. Yeah. Well, I think that's a great segue to go into talking about this perspective and you've set up where it came from and where you were at. So let's just launch into it. Tell the peeps. Tell them your thoughts, because it's good, and I think they need to hear it.
So it's a couple things. One, resolutions are terrible.
Amen.
They
Wait,
do.
have you ever been a resolution person ever?
Oh, I've done it almost every year. That's what I'm saying. That's where that's why I said Sunday in the message. It just sets you up for disappointment.
Right.
I mean, there's been years where where I'm going to do this and we're going to do that and this is going to be, and then nah,
Didn't happen.
never, didn't even get close. And that's what I say. Like 9% of people finish their resolutions during a year.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So you could have heard a pin drop when you said that. People were all like
9%. 9 out of 100.
Yeah, 9, not 90.
And most of those 9, I'm sure, are very driven, super type A, dialed in, successful humans already.
Or crazy.
They're not the average. Even one of my friends said the other day, she goes, I'm one of those 9%. And I'm like, you're a psychopath.
How are we friends?
Yeah, we should not even be in the same room together.
I've never been a resolution person, but in the last 6 years, I've developed this word of the year. Mm-hmm. And I told Jeremy before we came to church that weekend, I was like, this is the first year, like, I don't feel like I have a word.
So that's where I went, right? I mean, that's what I talked about. I talked about, okay, let's throw resolutions at the door. One, they're too vague. They hardly ever have action steps. So let's just not talk resolutions.
And you said something really important, that they're usually based from shame.
They're shame. I didn't do it last year. Or maybe I tried to do it last year and I failed. So I guess we'll try again this year. Well, That's a shame-based decision. And those never go very far.
Right.
And they usually lead to more shame. And there's a whole cycle there that our brains like to get caught up in, to where we just stay in that shame cycle, and it's really hard to break out of that.
Yeah.
And so why would we start the first of the year setting ourselves up for that, right? So I've seen this before. I've noticed it, where people go, okay, here's my word for the year. And so I just kind of thought, okay, let me look into that a little bit. What would that look like? And the more I looked into it, the more I thought, this makes way more sense. Like, what if I just focused on a thing this year? Instead of having a dozen resolutions, what if I just did, okay, here's what I'm going to wake up and work on, right? And then I had this thought. I had this a year ago, and I never really did anything with it. So this was really cool to begin to go back to something that I'd already tried to develop a little bit a year ago, and go, okay, now this is when we're going to put it into practice. I had this thought, why is it about the year? Right? Like, okay, I get it. It's Happy New Year.
Right.
But it was Monday.
Yeah, and Mondays are never great.
Mondays are a terrible day to start anything. It's awful. Mondays are bad. So I thought, okay, so instead of a new year, what if every day we just looked at it as a new day, and we just took it in that unit? And then we took our one word and we worked on it for that one day, and then we go to bed that night, and then we wake up tomorrow, and guess what? We get to do this same thing tomorrow. How would that be different? One, you can do almost anything you want to for a day.
Yep.
Right? Like, you can stop doing something for a day. You can start doing something for a day. And then even if you blow it, it was just a day.
Yeah, one day out of 365.
It was just a dadgum day.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, I messed this up for the whole year.
And what did you say about a day that you're asleep, or you said like it's a day?
I said, yeah, you got 24 hours, and most of the day you're either asleep or in the bathroom.
Doesn't leave a lot of time, really.
No, you got a small window that you can do about anything you want to do. So I don't know, man. I just thought maybe this is the way to do it. And then what I did was I thought, okay, let's see how Jesus did things. And that's the pace that he did things, right? Like, you never saw him sitting down with the disciples coming up with a comprehensive plan for this next year of ministry.
Never.
Like they never, if they had that meeting, they certainly didn't jot it down anywhere.
Right.
Like they weren't like, hey, Luke, you need to put this in your book. You're a doctor. You take more details. So make sure that they know we were planning stuff so that as civilization develops, they'll know that planning is very important. No, it's not mentioned anywhere. He got up. He did his day. He didn't see interruptions as interruptions. He saw them as opportunities. They walked everywhere they went. A bit out of necessity. There weren't a lot of other means to move around back then, but they were never in a hurry. Jesus was never in a hurry. Now, his disciples were in a hurry.
Oof. And they got in trouble for that.
Yeah, they got in trouble all the time. They're always trying to jump ahead. They were always trying to get ahead. They were always trying to plan. They're always trying to say oh my gosh, if we don't do something now, this whole thing's going to fall apart.
But doesn't that make the disciples so relatable to us?
Oh yeah, I would have been right there with them going,
me too.
Jesus, we have got to keep moving, man.
I need to know, like, where I got the money here.
Yeah.
How are we going to sort this out? Like, I would be the same person.
Yeah, like the services start in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And we are nowhere near it.
Yeah. We got to get hopping.
Quit helping these blind people.
Quit talking to those little kids.
Yeah. But that's how we are, and that's how we live.
But do you think that sets us up for failure in some way? Because think about a resolution, really. Like you said, first day of the year, you are setting yourself up for failure. But yet it's so important for us to do it. It's so important. So many people make resolutions. So many people say, I'm going to do this year. And I think what you were telling the group was that most people, like not the 9% of special people, the majority, in 2 weeks, you've already fell off the wagon.
Oh yeah, I think it was like 60% of them within the first week, and then by 2 weeks, everybody's out.
So that's 14 days.
14 days is how far we make it.
So it's so important for us to have these resolutions and put it on Facebook and spread it all over and tell everybody this is what we're going to do in literally 14 days. Yeah. It's a bust.
Yeah, and then you feel bad about it.
The rest of the year.
All of the other however many days that is.
So you mentioned that the second Friday of January,
Quitter's Day.
Where did you find that?
I was looking up resolution stuff, and it said Quitter's Day, and I was like, I'm interested in that. Like I feel like I've nailed that on a lot of stuff, but it was the opposite. It was this dude who said, on the second Friday of the year, everybody's already messed up the resolutions. What if we had a day to where we could all restart? And I thought that's absolutely ludicrous.
You've just had a day.
You had the day. Like the main day is New Year's. Is like the day.
Like, get it right,
like
man.
Some random Friday in January is not going to motivate anyone on this planet. And then you have to do it every 2 weeks. Like Quitter's Day is every second Friday, right. I guess, is what this guy was trying to say. And I just thought, this is insanity. But it's our effort to try to make ourselves feel better.
And have control.
Ooh, that's good.
What do you think? I think it's a control thing.
Yeah.
Because if I say this is what I'm going to do, then I really kind of close off the things I don't want to do as well. I think it's a control thing.
Yeah.
And we renamed it in our house. We're calling it Failure Friday.
Ooh.
And here's what I found out about Failure Friday, because this happened on Failure Wednesday, which was just last week. Failure Friday actually happens on Monday through Sunday, because I didn't have a resolution. I ended up, there was a word that just kept pressing through in the last hour. Like, I feel like God was like, hey, I've been talking to you about this. Like, what do you mean you don't have a word? Mm-hmm. And so I was sitting and just pondering on my word. And, I didn't have, when New Year's came, I didn't feel like something changed in me and I just became a new person, right? But about that Wednesday, I realized I was having Failure Wednesday, because which doesn't happen often, especially when my kids were out of school. I had like this moment of silence to myself, and I was already in my head thinking about all the things I was worried about that I couldn't control. And I thought about your message, and I went, oh my God, it's Wednesday. I didn't even make it to Failure Friday. I made it to the Wednesday before Failure Friday.
Wacky Wednesday.
I made it to Wacky Wednesday. And it is not a new year, a new me. It literally is New year, same me.
New year, same me. Yeah, that's what I said, right? New year, same me. Because
same daggone person showed up.
Yep.
Same person.
Because the thing is, here's the deal about any sort of life change. It rarely ever is instantaneous, right? I mean, you hear every now and then somebody's life would be like, well, then the Lord came in my life and I never desired to smoke a cigarette again the rest of my life. Well, that's not how most people deal with it. Ashley's dad smoked his whole life and became a believer and even surrendered to ministry. And the hardest thing for him to do was to stop smoking cigarettes, right? Like It was a process. And if he would have tried and failed the first week of a New Year's and then just said, forget it, and then just given up and just said, I guess I'm a smoker for the rest of my life. Well, I mean, his life would have gone a different direction, right? But it is a process, and we have to understand that for real change to happen, we have to be willing to go through that process. Like what did I say? 6%, even 6% of the people that actually followed through with their resolutions through the whole year, 6% actually said that they had experienced life change.
6%.
6%. So then what did you do? Like, what in the world were you doing?
Yeah, that's it.
Like
6%.
Your resolution must have been lame.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you know what? We're going to keep up with most of our socks this year.
And we did it.
And we did it. But you know what? Still feeling pretty empty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Still a void there. Still a void.
Big void.
Wonder what the void is. Well, I was thinking about back to the disciples, how they are a good example because I like to go through my life and not always take it slow or catch all the opportunities, which is what Jesus did. And he had a plan the whole time. Like, it was always in his plan. Like, his plan didn't exactly roll over to their plan.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, it made me think about the verse that talks about, it's in Hebrews 12, let us run with endurance the race that's set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising shame, and is seated at the right hand on the throne. And what stood out to me is the race, right? I think as humans, we have like our own race. In the sense of we have a plan, we have a vision. We have an idea. I'm gonna stop smoking. I'm gonna stop drinking. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna, maybe stay off social media more. I bet that one ends with about 2 days.
Oh yeah, that doesn't even make
it doesn't even make it 24 hours. But we have a race with endurance. Endurance is like what you're talking about him, Ashley's dad, and smoking. Like, he probably tried and failed. Failed. But he endured. He endured that. And I think as we walk through with words or whatever you have for the year, right, there has to be an endurance that goes with it. And I just, our society is so much on give it to me now. I want it now. So, okay, I'm going to go to the gym. Well, I went to the gym for 14 days and those abs are still not there.
Oh, no, they're not there. I don't know what happened.
Like, I hate to tell you
Well, because the last 4 years, you've been eating ice cream and chips every night before you went to bed.
Every day. And, all that damage takes time.
Yep.
It's smoking. If you have smoked for 30 years, if you think for a second that you're going to quit in 14 days.
Because you want to.
Yeah, just because you want to. No help.
It's my resolution.
Yeah. And like you said, you can pray about it. I am with you. There are people, I've met people who've put a drink down and never touched it again. They've walked away from all kind of addictions. But that's not the norm. It's not the norm. But
it's the stories we hear. That's part of the problem, right? Those are the stories we hear.
Yeah.
And so I'm the normal guy sitting out there and I'm hearing that story. And then I'm instead of being inspired, I'm thinking, well, then what's wrong with me?
Yeah. Why didn't God do that for me?
I tried to stop that 10 different times and I can't. So what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? Like, why am I not, do I not have enough faith? Do I not go to church? Do I not do the stuff right in order for, but
it's not your race.
That's the problem. Yeah. It's not my race and it's not what the vast majority of people are up against.
Right.
That's not the normal story. And I think sometimes churches have been pretty guilty of telling the not normal story.
The miracle, like you get dunked and you come up and
Yeah, we saw birds.
it's all in the
doves.
water.
Yeah, doves came up out of the thing.
Right.
And there was sparklers.
Yeah.
And like when I got baptized, I came up and I couldn't open my eyes because I think there was soap in the water. Right. So it's
Right.
But I like the analogy of a race, of it being one of endurance versus a sprint. Right? We're obsessed with the sprint. That's why when the Olympics come into town and you watch track and field, you only watch the ones that are over with pretty quick. No one is watching those long distance races.
No, because they're boring.
They're terrible.
They're
But
boring.
those
track
people are
So sorry.
are those guys and ladies are way more in shape, way more disciplined, way more
Everything.
all of the things.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know
and
what
they
I mean?
prepared for that. They didn't just like wake up and show up for that race.
No.
They've
And
trained.
not that sprinters don't train, but I'm also training to go 100 yards as fast as I possibly can. And then you know what? I'm done.
Yeah, go sit down.
I'm going to get me a Gatorade, check on the long distance race, see how much longer they got so we can get back on the track.
Right, so we can do this again.
Yeah, it's just not life is not a sprint. Life change doesn't happen in 100 yards. It happens over the marathons and the 100-mile races and the 500-mile. I mean, that is just.
It's more like the long race plus put in some hurdles.
Oh yeah, and the big, that one race where there's like water just randomly in the middle of the.
Right.
Yeah, like big old things of water.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then like every now and then a fire truck comes out with a hose and just blows everybody off the dang.
You got to start over again.
Yeah. No, that is really more like it.
Yeah. If you just take all those things and chunk it together.
And if you go into it knowing that, I think we can handle it better. Right? If we go into today knowing that everything may not happen the way I want it to today.
Right.
Today is not promised to be an amazing day. No matter what all the stuff on Instagram and Facebook tells me. Just because I want it to be an amazing day doesn't make it's not going to be just an amazing day because I want it to be. I'm manifesting this amazing day. Okay, yeah, but what happens when somebody rear ends you? Right?
Yeah.
And then you're late to half the rest of your stuff today and
your car's totaled.
Your car's totaled and you're not real sure how you're going to get to where you're going. Well, you know what? Apparently, that guy that hit you, he didn't wake up and think he was going to have an amazing
He
day.
didn't check his Facebook status.
Yeah, and
my favorite one right now is the one that says, "God said to tell you this is going to be a great year."
No, he didn't.
I want to be on there and be like, here is a PSA. God, open your Bible.
First of all, you don't know me, so how did he tell you to tell me?
Right. But how many people latch onto that?
They go, "Amen,
Yes.
amen. I'm claiming it. I'm claiming it right now. This is my year."
And then a month in, when something happens, and
You're devastated.
but I thought you said, Lord, this was my year. This is my year.
Yeah. So either we blame it on him or we get back in the shame cycle.
Right.
Well, okay, then what did I do wrong?
Yeah,
what have I not been doing right?
Yep. I missed that tithe and I didn't. Now I'm being punished.
Yeah, I knew I should have gone to prayer meeting on Thursday.
Yep.
And I didn't. And this is what I get.
Yep.
Like that's how.
It's the mentality.
Gosh, that's how I live. Right. Like when you said this seems personal. That's part of my issue. My issue has been my life didn't end up quite like I wanted it to. I guess I'm being punished. Right. I look around and I see friends and other people that seem to everything is amazing. And that's not the way it's going for me right now. So must have done something, right? I wasn't disciplined enough. I didn't follow through enough. I didn't. So then what I said during the service is if we do a day at a time, then if we fail that day, we just failed that day.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to define who I am. And that was me talking to myself big time. Like that cannot now define who I wake up as in the morning.
Yeah, because I believe you use the scripture about new mercies every day.
Yeah, it was at Lamentations.
Yeah.
When he
that
was
sad
talking
book.
about, Jeremiah was talking about the whole city's just gone to garbage. And I don't know how we're going to ever get this thing built up. But then he says, but you know what? My hope is in the never-ending love of God, his unending faithfulness. That's where my hope is. It's not in looking out and seeing the rubble. My hope is not in that. It's knowing that we are given new mercies every single day that we wake up. And so far, I mean, we've made it all the way to Thursday.
Yeah, that's an accomplishment.
But so far, like I've gotten up every day this week, and that's been the first thought in my head. And I normally don't think about what I've just taught, to be real honest with you. I kind of file it away and move on. But this is one of those deals, and I shared this, standing up in front of a whole group of people going, hey, here's my one thing I'm going to work on this year is a level of accountability that's very uncomfortable. It's one thing to tell your spouse or maybe your best friend, but to tell, 1,500 mostly strangers, like, hey, here's what I'm going to be about this year. I think that's definitely pushed me toward, when you wake up, Daren, we got to do this today.
Right.
Like this is something we got to work on. So,
well, I love that you referenced about daily bread, and you said about the Lord's Prayer when you spoke and daily bread, and something years ago that clicked for me. I mean, I've been in church my whole life, and I use that loosely, right? I've been in church. Mm-hmm. I was Christian. Doesn't always mean I was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But it made, and I thought about it as soon as you said it, was about manna, right? The story where God provided manna. And daily bread is a throwback to manna that here we all are out here, having a declaration of what the year is going to look like. And man, you don't even know if you're going to be here in 3 months.
You got no idea.
Like God, seriously, the Bible plainly spells it out for us that he gives you daily bread. That is manna for the day. If for those of you that don't know the story of manna, when God provided the manna to the Israelites who were complaining, he only let that manna be good for the day. Literally, at the end of the day, it like rotted, turned into maggots. Okay, so he said, this is it. Like, this is all you got. So today, this is all you need. And I am so guilty of that myself, is that I've been in the habit, and I was telling you this last year, and I realized it during the Advent that we did, the Advent special, that I really I understand that concept and I try really hard, but my personality is that of always looking forward, counting on what's God going to do with that? Is he going to do it my way? Is it going to look like this? And that's my way of controlling the scenario. And so during Advent, I really felt the tug of realizing that I can't anchor in the fog, because that's literally what tomorrow is a fog.
Oh, yeah.
We bank on something that's non-existent. It's on a calendar.
And we also bank on it looking exactly the way we assume it's going to look. Like when I wake up in the morning, I'm assuming the world is going to be in this very state that I've made it up to be in. Like, we don't know what in the world is going to happen in the morning when we wake up.
Especially right now.
Yeah. You don't know if somebody else is going to be at war. You don't know if somebody else is going to be sick, or if you're going to get a call from a relative that somebody's not with us anymore. Like, it's second by second. Yes.
I mean, you don't know. So how foolish is it, like thinking it out, how foolish is it at the beginning of January 1st to make a declaration of what you're going to do when you don't even know with the provision that's going to be made for you daily to be able to even accomplish that.
Yep. And there's wisdom in planning.
Absolutely.
Definitely not saying that. But also to hold your plans loosely. Like my plans can't be the end all for my satisfaction.
Well, and that's that shame cycle, right? Like if I don't do it, then shame on me. I screwed up. I'm a failure. My self-worth is because I couldn't do that thing. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm with you. Like I'm not sitting here telling you that I don't have a calendar over there on that desk that's got some things plotted out.
No, you're supposed to, I think.
Right. And in the Bible, it even says in Jeremiah, right? Jeremiah 16, the heart of the man plans his way.
Yep.
It's in our heart.
Mm-hmm.
It says right there, it's in our heart. But the Lord establishes the steps. So I can make all the plans.
Mm-hmm.
But every day, that daily bread is going to establish what steps I'm able to take in that day.
Yep. And then
That's it.
Yeah. And then do we wake up looking for his steps, or do we wake up jumping on our stuff?
Well, I'll wake up all aboard his steps, but then about 3 seconds in, my heart has pulled me. So where's that calendar and what am I doing? And like you said, I got to check all the X's, all the boxes, check. And
To feel good about yourself before you go to bed.
To feel good and to feel in control and I have a very type A personality. So, to lay in the bed and go, I didn't do this and I didn't do that. It all plays. And then it affects my sleep. And then the next day I get up and I'm groggy and froggy and here we go again. Because didn't learn my lesson the day before. Let's try again. Yep. But I'm doing much better. And that's why when you spoke, it really resonated with me about the idea of Advent, what we talked about in a celebratory heart, meaning that for me personally, when I wake up, it's that day and remembering all the goodness of God that day. Not just waiting for Christmas to celebrate the birth. And it's a big party. Celebrating that within my day, my steps, the orders he's calling me and putting me on to every day.
Yeah.
And so that's been my mindset. And it's like what you said, shifting it that way when I maybe screw up or I don't nail it. Like the first thing I said to you when you walked in was I didn't really have time to get it all together because that's my personality type.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's good.
Works out beautifully.
Because I don't have anything together.
And again, there's no failure, there's no shame, there's no failure in that, right?
Nah.
But it was important to me. Mm-hmm. But then I have to release that and go, well, you know what? It wasn't a part of the order today.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen, but it doesn't change my life.
Nah.
I'm not going to go to bed and,
No one on the news is going to talk about it tonight.
I know they're not. Can you believe that? No. It's not even newsworthy, man. Nope. And then, you pulled from Lamentations. And for people who don't understand what lament means, lament is a very sad grief, sorrow, prayer of just deep. Like when you're talking about Jeremiah, like he was in anguish almost.
Yep. So Happy New Year.
Yeah, that was a great way to bring it in. But that actually, though, think about it. Like, think about the listeners right now who started out January 1st in anguish.
Oh, yeah. It's,
I mean, just because you have some sparklers and you shoot some fireworks off, that doesn't take away hurt, anger, despair.
And I think it's a lot of us. I think it's, when we went through a pretty difficult time after Harvey, not just physically with losing most of our house, but mentally and emotionally for me. I kind of snapped during that time. And one of the things that taught me on the other end of it is when I stand up in front of any group of people from that point forward, I saw them differently.
Was it more of like from an empathy point of view?
It's very empathetic.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe there's a room full of people right now that are having to deal with what they're dealing with. And then at the same time, trying to act like we've got it all together, trying to act like this is new year, new me, but knowing what they're up against this year already. Some of us don't know what we're going to be up against this year. A lot of people go into New Year knowing what they're already up against.
Oh, yeah.
And if we can connect that with who Jesus came to hang out with and how he spent his time loving on people, and we can recognize that we are those people that he chooses to connect with, just seems to be some hope into that, and that was the whole part of that verse in Lamentations is Jeremiah said, here's where my hope is. My hope is in the unending love, unending kindness. My hope is in new mercies every day. That's what I'm going to put my hope in, not what I'm seeing in front of me, not what I'm seeing all around me, not what I feel like I'm going to be up against. But my hope is in the unending love of the Father.
And think about if we all had that posture. daily, like not even trying for tomorrow, like just today,
Yep.
just today.
Yep.
Like, what would that look like?
Yeah, it would we would have different lives, and I think every now and then we bump into people that are living like that, and it seems so odd. Like I've bumped into several people throughout the years to where I just thought, well, that guy's not normal. Like that dude is living a different way than I'm living.
Yeah, we need to have a talk.
Yeah, but that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, that's how they're living, and it even seems odd to us that are supposed to be living the same way. It just seems so foreign.
So, I mean, if I'm just being honest, I got to say, since Christmas, since going through the Advent and then going into the new year, even though I did have Failure Wednesday, I have felt lighter.
Yeah.
It's almost like I had to give myself the permission, which I didn't. God already had taken care of that. But the permission just to say, it's okay to just do today.
Yeah.
And thinking about, for me, coming up with illustration in my head, thinking about the fog of the future, I don't want to throw an anchor into something I can't see.
Yeah.
And just let's hope it sticks.
Yeah. It may be somebody else's boat.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
I've been married a few times. I don't need anybody else's boat. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm done with those days,
Yeah.
right? I don't need nobody else's kids.
Yeah.
I don't need nobody else's boat. Like, I got a full plate over here. And I really want to stay in my lane with God, right? Like,
Yeah.
I want to stay in my lane. I want to see where is he trying to have me grow? What is he pushing me to? Even through the uncomfortable. Like, and the only way for me to do that is to literally, like you say, you remind yourself in the morning. I have to remind myself in the morning to anchor down in today. Just
Good.
anchor down in today, because today is the only certainty I have. I've got this book and it tells me what I'm doing in the next couple of days and where my kids are and the activities and all that, but I'm breathing and living today.
Yep.
That's it.
You need an anchor tattoo right here.
Oh, I have no tattoos. I'm scared to death.
Well, don't start here, by the way. If you start on
tell
that,
me to
if you,
start here,
if you
right?
start on the wrist, that's going to be the last one you ever get.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll have that discussion later. So, I was thinking about that, right? The anchor and the things that are important. And I think, like, people celebrating the small victories or even looking at the small stones, like Joshua's stones, even if you have to start with the small stones, that's so important.
Yep.
Like today I got up.
Yep.
And this is what I did.
Yep.
Maybe I didn't do all the things. Like today I was not as prepared as I would have liked to have been, right? But there were other things today. You know what? I spent a lot of time with my kids today.
Yep.
And that doesn't always happen around here.
Right.
Like we really spent time doing things they liked today. I put the cell phone up. That's part of the reason I wasn't fully ready to. But that's a win.
100%.
That's a win.
100%.
Because this was still going to happen.
Yep. Right.
But if I would have neglected when they asked me to do those things, which I sometimes do that, I can't go back. That wasn't going to still happen. And so, I think really making sure that our listeners understand that it's okay to celebrate the small victories and to look at the small stones. Maybe God didn't take everything away or heal everything, but what did God do today? What did he show you today?
Yep.
How did he show up today?
Yep.
Like, I think there's a huge impact. I think that helps with the mind shift of getting away from that negative way of thinking that, it said there's this research says that 80% of the thoughts you have in your head are negative.
Oh, I bet mine are closer to 100.
You got maybe just 99. You got like 1% positive.
Yeah, I've got
there?
1%. I'm working on that.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I'm working on that.
That's good.
And part of that is, why can't we end our day thinking about those wins, right?
Yeah.
Instead of, the what ifs and the shouldas and the couldas, what would it look like if every night when we finally shut everything down, we go, okay, what was good today?
Yeah. Instead of like laying in the bed going, here's all the things I didn't do. And then I think about them all night.
Because that's setting you up for in the morning, right? If you go to bed thinking about everything you didn't do, then as soon as you jump up, that's what we're doing. We got to catch up. We got to make it all right.
Yep.
Got to make everything right in the world that I didn't make everything right in the world yesterday.
Yep. And then we start there and we run out of time to do the things.
Yeah.
And guess
you're
what? A whole new list.
exponentially behind.
Then the whole list starts again.
Yep.
It's funny because I wrote in my notes today, where's my book? Here's my book. So I have this book that, some people love, some people hate, Jesus Calling.
Yeah, it's very...
and if you look at it, it's been around for a hot minute.
Yeah, you look like it fell out of your car.
It's been through some tough times. Let's just say that. But today was funny. I read it. I opened it up. Oh, let me say this so you understand. My word is discipline.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Discipline. Because I am a type A personality. And so you would think, well, discipline's great. But I've had God's taken me out of my comfort zone in so many ways. And then I've made choices that put me, in other places. And so this year I said, you know what? I want to be more disciplined in what I'm doing daily. Like I want to make a better effort. Because a lot of times I'll say, well, I just didn't have time for this and I just couldn't get to that. But honestly, I'm choosing that.
Oh, 100%.
It's my excuse, but I'm choosing it. So I'm not going to read this whole thing. But what was crazy is when I opened it up and knew you were coming and I had all these things in my head I wanted to do. It starts off the very first sentence says, I want you to learn a new habit. And I was like, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. I understand. But what was even more funny about that is above it, and I don't know where it came from. I promise you I don't remember writing it. I don't know what year I wrote it because I'm not really good apparently at making the small details. But it says the miracle is in the stretch. And I went, oh, that's good. And then I sat there and tried to remember where that came from and I couldn't. But I noticed that I underlined a certain part, so I'm thinking they probably go together. And I underlined adverse circumstances become growth opportunities when you affirm your trust in me no matter what. Adverse circumstances become growth opportunities when you affirm your trust in me no matter what. And then I went back to the miracle is in the stretch. And in us talking about racing and track, like I didn't know we were going to talk about that, but I had written here, when you run a race, like you talk about the Olympics, the whole time they're running that long race, they're being cheered, right? It's not over. They're not celebrating that they won, but they're being cheered through the whole race because they know that they need that to go.
Yep.
Now at the end, they get this huge cheer, but you don't get a cheer if you run half the race. Like if those guys ran half the race and they just stopped, I have a feeling their teammates would not just cheer them.
Yeah, I mean, some of their countries wouldn't let them come back into the country.
Yeah, they'd be in big trouble, right? So the miracle is in the stretch. So to me, where that stood out to me was that when we, like Peter, step out of our comfort zone into the zone of obedience or calling, that's when we see the miracle in the stretch, right? So these guys, the miracle in the stretch is that for me in the Olympics, you made it.
Yeah.
Because that 100 yards, I think, like you said, that's still big. You train for that. You're the fastest people I know.
Right.
But those guys that have to endure, they don't stop. They don't stop and go, well, done.
Yeah, I had a bad lap.
Yeah, where's my trophy? Like, I'm done. No, the miracle's in the stretch. And the stretch is a place, to me, when I stretch, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like when they say stretch before you work out, I usually skip that part.
Yeah, it's bad.
Because it stinks. Yeah. And it takes time, and it's like whatever. But what I've learned is it's actually a necessity if I want to get out of the bed the next morning.
Yep.
So the miracle is in the stretch. You are stretched, you are growing. And I think that's where we meet God.
Yeah.
And then God does his work. And usually that leads to some type of miracle per se, or a movement or a shift. And I just love that it was on here for today, even though I have no clue where it came from.
Well, now you know, at least you know now you don't know.
Yeah, I know now for sure I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was so good for today that
the
guys, the miracle is in the stretch, right? It's not in the planning and trying to knock it out in 14 days or in 3 months. You're not going to do it. I mean, the 9% is, but the rest of us, it's out.
Yeah.
So why don't we sink in and get comfortable in the stretch?
Yeah, I like it.
Comfortable in the uncomfortable.
I like it.
Because I believe that's where you're going to see, I think that's where you're going to see stuff.
Yep.
It's where you're going to see a shift. I mean, that's just me.
I like it.
That's just me. So, okay. Did you tell everybody? No. What is your word?
My word is health. I need to, in order to be who I need to be for my family, in my ministry, in my vocation, I've just got to get some things healthier this year. So that's my word, and that's where all my focus is going.
And am I right? Yeah, because you said it's physical health.
Physical, mental, emotional, relational.
It's all the things.
That's where I'm putting all my focus. And with health, health is a slow process. To become healthy in something takes time. Things that are healthy grow, but they don't grow rapidly. It's a slow growth, and that's where I'm putting all of my energy this year.
And don't we see that in so many things that God created?
Everything.
Like your plants and stuff. Like you put the seed in, it don't just like spring up to a bush.
No, it's his design is slow.
Yeah, you're born, you're not 21.
Nope, it's a slow pace is how he designed the planet.
And he moves at that same his pace.
Yep, his pace.
His pace. So here's how I like to usually wrap things up when we wrap things up. I like to give, I'm a teacher, right?
Okay.
Like been a teacher for a long time. So I like to give practical application because I think a lot of times in different arenas, it's great to go out and tell and relate to people and to say, here's this and here's my story. And we give everybody this warm, fuzzy feeling that says, man, I can relate to that. I can do that. But then you step away from that moment or that scene and then you go, but wait a minute, how was I supposed to do that? So, so how would you tell people to set this up?
Let's do this. First is what I ask everybody to do at church is to, you need to figure out what your thing is going to be this year. Like what's your word or what's your phrase? What is the thing? And then the second step is going to be, you've got to tell somebody else about that.
Got to rat yourself out.
Yeah. In fact, I would tell multiple people. The more people you tell, the better it's going to be. And you can't listen to me, look at me in my good eye. You can't just put it on Facebook and then go, well, I told everybody. No, I'm talking personal. You talk this through with some people. Okay. And then the part that I'm still working through right now is there's got to be some sort, I think there needs to be some sort of metric, some way where you can tell that you're doing this, right? It can't be vague. Like I can't just say health.
Right.
Right? I got to go, okay, what's that look like physically? Okay, what am I?
So wait, is that like goals? Is it like,
It's action steps.
Nice.
And here's the actions I'm going to take toward this. I'm going to go to the gym 4 times a week. Not the same 4 days maybe, but there's going to be 4 days where I'm going to cut back on this, and this, and this is how I'm measuring it, right? So you have to have some sort of measurable, I believe, in order to see that you can actually do this. Like it's progress. Like I'm doing it. Now, the thing with measurables is you don't measure something one day and go, okay, either yay, it's amazing, or oh my gosh, I failed at this, right? Most growth charts, most performance charts don't go up and to the right in a diagonal.
Right.
They meander, right?
Yeah.
Almost always.
Is that an Arkansas word? Because we say that in Alabama
I love the word meander.
You just don't hear that here in Texas.
I love it.
Sorry, got off topic.
So make it to where you can see if you're making some progress. And if you're not making some progress, then that's when the people that you told come into play. Like, hey, I've not been to the gym all week. I got to call me in the morning at 8:00 and make sure I'm there.
Yeah. And I think you got to set reasonable progress. Like
reasonable.
Things that you actually could possibly do. Because let's be honest, if somebody said, it's physical, I'm going to the gym 5 days, that not starting out, that's not reasonable.
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen.
That's not
You're going
reasonable.
to do 2 and then you're going to skip 3 days and then you're going to be out.
Yeah, and then you're going to say, I failed.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, it's got to be reasonable. It does need to be a little bit of a challenge, though. It can't be, I'm going to the gym probably once this week. Like, that is not a real goal. It's not as an inaction step.
Right.
That's like, and I can promise you I'm not going 6 days this week. That I can commit to.
That I can commit to.
But I think the key is to discern your word, whether that's prayer, fasting, however you want to do that. Get some accountability, and just track your progress. And you can't beat yourself up over the days where it takes a dip. You get some help, you get some encouragement.
And you start new the next
and you
day.
get back up the very next day. This is not about this year. This is about this day.
Yeah. So having the daily perspective.
Yep.
So like I was thinking through this, and I said some of the same things, like daily reminders. You know, maybe you're a person who needs to write something on the mirror, put something in the car, something you see that says, hey, today we're trying to do this.
Yep.
Trying being a key word there. Like this is what I'd like to do.
Yeah.
We're going to try to do this. And then reflecting on those small victories. Like if you get up and go to the gym and you get on that treadmill for 15 minutes, or you work on relationship building or whatever you're doing, when you go to bed, like you said, going, you know, thank you, Lord, for seeing that through.
Yep.
Like that was huge today.
Yep. You got to celebrate wins.
You have to celebrate the wins. I think you have to reflect, and you have to reflect on throughout the process, throughout the year. You have to reflect back that, well, today I didn't make it, but you know what? I made it out of 2 months. I made it 42 days. Like that's huge.
That's 42 days. I didn't go all of last year.
Right. And that's, and we're just using the gym, of course, but that's, you know, 42 days where I invested more in my kids, 42 days. I limited my time on social media. Like you said, whatever your thing is.
I read my Bible.
It's easy to use the gym because that one probably fails really quick. It's something that I've been thinking on, something I've been working on for a project, a thing I have coming up is, you know, if whatever you're struggling with, find a name of God that declares that.
That's good.
Find a name of God and write it down, like everywhere. And remind yourself of who God is, because that's who's going to sustain you. Mm-hmm. That's who's providing the daily manna. That's who we're putting our trust in. So you should know who He is.
Yeah.
And you should know that name so that you can call on that part of who He is, that character of God. And I really, for me, like I was in there tonight, I was looking. Half those names I can't even pronounce. I have to put them on the speaker. But I know what it means.
Yeah.
And I know that that's the character of God, and that's the character that I need to call on when I'm about to go down that road of, I just screwed up today.
Right.
I didn't get it today. Oh my gosh, this puts me behind. Now the rabbit hole. Always, you know, there's celebrating others' success, serving others. You know, we don't have to compare our stories, like you said.
Yep.
It is hard sometimes when you meet people and it seems like you said they got it right. But again, reminding yourself you have your own race. Mm-hmm. It wasn't your race to get it right, Daren.
Right.
It surely wasn't my race to get it right. But it's a work in progress.
Yep.
And I'm still running the race. Mm-hmm. And showing up's the first step. You know, take the time to disconnect and recharge. That's huge. In therapy, you know, when you go to therapy or you see somebody, you have to have time for self. Mm-hmm. You have to sit sometimes in the quiet and just be, or you have to call a timeout. Like a lot of times my timeout is literally just getting to go to HEB. Right. Jeremy didn't understand that when we first moved here, but then he figured it out like 2 or 3 more kids in, because he started saying, I need to go to HEB. And I knew exactly what that meant. I don't always even come home with anything from HEB, but it's just having that breather.
Yeah.
Turning everything off, just having a moment. And so, I just believe these are different ways that you can help cultivate the type of heart that lives in celebratory, and not in shame, and guilt. Yep. And I'm not going to say the devil's not going to throw it in there at you, because you know he is. It's coming. Yep. You're gonna have a moment, but I think if you have these days where you've cultivated that more, it's not so easy to slip into that pattern, because you have these stones of remembrance. You have these moments of success, and you go, wait a minute, not today, Satan.
Yeah. Yep.
Like not today.
Yep.
Not today. So hopefully, you can create a space for God to settle in and help you stretch and grow. Like that's the hope here, is creating a space and moving through your race well.
Yep.
That's what I would say.
Yep.
So, okay. So here's the thing. What's going on with Daren next? Like, what has Daren got going on? What fun stuff? What's happening with you?
So like I said in the intro, right now I'm working with a company called Petra Cares, and we work with these guys that are coming out of foster care, trying to help them get jobs. But what's interesting is before I even came across the PetraCares thing, a small group of us, mainly out of our actual small group, started talking about what would it look like if we could begin to provide some holistic care for these, and specifically in our case in males that are out of time in the foster system. They're done, and most of these guys, if they don't have a support system, will either end up in jail, they'll end up on the street, they'll end up dead by very early ages, early 20s. And so we've created a nonprofit called the Joshua Project, that is going to be currently serving these guys who are aging out. The ultimate goal is we want to provide them housing, safe housing, and just holistic care for that season of their life to help them move forward and help them not be that stat that's so staggering. That's 70-80% of them will end up nowhere within months. And so, we just got our 501c3 status this last week, which is exciting, and it came very quickly. We got it right before Christmas, and that was a shock to all of us because we were kind of planning on waiting a while. Well, the government, they're pretty efficient.
It's supposed to be 3 to 6 months.
No, we got this thing in it was less than 2 months. We had it, I believe, is what it was. And
what I think, so when we got ours, we got it in 7 days, and I thought God had somebody who didn't even read it.
Yeah.
He just said stamped.
Somebody just stamped it, and that's fine with us.
Yeah, we were fine with us too.
Yeah, we were okay with that.
What a great Christmas present.
That's what we're doing right now. Just an exciting time. What's cool about it is it's very connected to PetraCares because that's exactly the demographic that we were wanting to reach. So here I kind of just out of nowhere got this opportunity to begin to work with these guys already. And so PetraCares is a partner of ours, and we work together. We work together with the Met, with the Hub. And we've just seen God do some crazy stuff in a very incredibly short amount of time.
And I love that. I love when he does that.
Yeah.
It's just like reaffirming.
It's been super fun.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for coming. We are going to put your information about the Joshua Project in the description so people can go and check that out, and they can see how maybe they can be involved or support you guys in what you're doing. I promise that if you come back, I won't harass you by any type of violence.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. As soon as I leave here, when I get in my truck, I'll cancel the restraining order.
Thank you.
I'll tell them, hey, it was a big mix-up.
Yeah.
We've worked it out. Everything's fine.
So we'll have to worry about the police coming over?
I'd say patrol maybe once a week, but get rid of the order.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. And more than anything, I really appreciate you coming and giving being our guest, and then helping me to give encouragement to the people who listen to our podcast, step forward in 2024 and how to better run their race.
Yep.
Like, we don't have to run our race the same old way.
Nope.
We have new mercies every day, and
every day,
and a God that loves us and has a race set upon, and He doesn't ask you to run it alone.
Nope.
He says, hey, you know what? I'll run it with you. So thank you so much for coming again and for being here. It's been super fun, and I've really enjoyed this time. Guys, don't miss our first episode of season 2, The Rope. It is with Paul and Linda Taylor from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And y'all, I am so excited for this to air. Now, I'm going to warn you, it's going to be a doozy. Their story, there will be a trigger warning with their story, but man, it is so impactful, and I just really can't wait for you to hear it. So make sure that you are subscribing and that you are ready when that episode comes out. And besides that, guys, I will see you back here. Don't be strangers. We'll see you soon. Bye, y'all.
thank you for joining us on today's episode of Southern Soul Chats. We hope you found inspiration, encouragement, and valuable insights to carry with you through your week. We invite you to subscribe to Southern Soul Chats so that you never miss an episode. We are a branch of Stepping Forward Ministries, a 501c3 Christian nonprofit, and we kindly ask for you to consider making a donation today. Your contribution will play a vital role in sustaining the podcast and allowing us to continue sharing these impactful stories of faith. As you leave today, remember your story is a part of a bigger narrative, and your faith has power to guide your path. Keep stepping forward with hope, trust, and assurance that you're never alone. This is Dr. Miranda Ferguson. We hope you have a great week and keep stepping forward.